Texans Chiefs. Texans lose 14-23. But all anyone wanted to talk about after the game was the 2 calls on Mahomes, the flop from Mahomes. What was your take here? Because I thought it was overblown personally.
Yeah.
But these things happen, and they were ticky-tacky calls. They were.
So it is. When every complaint all year is that the Chiefs get all the biggest calls. Not even that they get all the calls. It's just that they get all the calls in the biggest situations,
Correct.
in the key situations. This isn't like Kansas City's getting the opponents getting flagged 41 times a game. They're getting flagged 4 times a game for roughing the passer, and no other team all season got flagged 4 times a game for roughing the passer. It's little things like that end up happening. And I thought the first one, the roughing the passer, I would not have thrown the flag because that's a weird place to throw it in that situation. It was 3rd and long, and you give the Chiefs a free first down. But if you're Will Anderson, you can't hit the quarterback up high. So there is that one I a little bit understand, but still, I do not think a flag should have been called. The unnecessary roughness was absolutely absurd. If the quarterback's going to run around in circles, what are the defenders supposed to do? I mean, you have to get him down at some point. And he didn't even really get hit. The 2 Texans defenders bumped heads. So that's one of those where if they do change the rule in the offseason, that you have to pick up that flag. You can't just give them 15 yards. And then they need a flopping rule, Renner. We saw Mahomes flop out of bounds. Thank God the official did not throw the flag on that one. But it's just, it makes it almost silly to watch. It's like I get frustrated when I see people flop in soccer to the point where I want to throw things. I don't actually throw things, but I want to. And so that's how I get watching football. I don't want my soccer and my football mixing together.
100%. I've honestly become a little disgusted by how much it's grown in sort of acceptance within the NFL. You see Josh Allen doing it. He flops at times. You see Mahomes doing it. It's if the biggest names are doing it, it's going to have a trickle-down effect. We're going to get lesser quarterbacks start to flop. We're going to get defensive guys start to flop. And that is a slippery slope to soccer. Just like you said there, we got to nip it in the bud. And I don't think it's flags because I think you almost need someone to be able to analyze the video, rewatch it. I think you hit them where it hurts, pocketbook, big fines for flopping because you can control it. Everyone knows a flop when they see it. Everyone knows Mahomes took a dive on the sideline there. Luckily, the refs agreed in real time and didn't flag it. But I think there should be penalty, like some sort of repercussions for it because if there is no downside to flopping, you will just get it again and again and again, like we're talking about in the sport of soccer. So yeah, something needs to happen with that. But
how about like a 50 grand fine? What are we talking? Something huge?
Yeah,
to
I
totally
think at
deter
least.
It?
Yeah, I think a pretty hefty. I floated out 6 figures. I said 100K.
Ooh.
You get a 100K fine for a flop, you will nip it in the bud right there. No one's going to risk 100K for maybe a 15-yard penalty. I don't care how much money you got. It ain't worth it that much.
And certainly not a rookie or somebody who's only making $40,000 a game and just lost 2.5 game checks because he flopped.
Flopping will eliminate overnight, and that's how it should be in the NFL or just any sport in general. Let's be honest. Even if we keep making these caveats for soccer, soccer needs to implement something themselves. But for me, for my money, this game was lost by the Houston Texans with, 1, their offensive line, but 2, in the battle between Bobby Slowick and Steve Spagnuolo. Steve Spagnuolo, the wily vet, handed the young buck OC his shorts in that game. In every critical situation, it seemed like every 3rd down, there was a free runner or a guy getting home. Every time that they had to have it, the Chiefs had the right call. And the sequence I go back to, that was like, this is where the Texans lost the game. It was just over 10 minutes left. They're on KC's 40 when they went for it on 4th down. And Karlaftis got a sack on a tight end on that play. That whole sequence, those 4 downs, was first down was a play action max protect. No 2 wide receiver route, both completely covered. Nowhere for Stroud to go. Throws it away. Second one, free runner immediately. Nick Bolton on a blitz. Stroud has to throw it just like off his back foot to Jared Wayne on an out route. Wayne can't haul it down, but no time. Just had to completely throw up for grabs. Third one, another 3rd down, another free runner. This time it was Eric Reed on a blitz. Forced Stroud to throw it away immediately. And then you leave Karlaftis gets a one-on-one against a tight end on 4th down, and he gets a sack. It's just like, when that's the case, when you have that many protection screw ups, that in that crucial of a drive, that crucial of a possession, that's where you lost the game, unfortunately, for the Houston Texans.
This game kind of blew my mind because the Texans only punted twice. They moved the ball up and down the field. They outgained the Chiefs by over 100 yards. I think the stat was the Chiefs were the first playoff team ever to get outgained by 100 yards, not force a turnover, and win. Teams were 0-49 in the postseason before that. And this really felt like a winnable game for the Texans until kind of the whole scenario you mentioned where it was just over. And I thought for me, there were two keys in the first half that really put Houston in because the Chiefs were rusty. No, we could sit here and talk about the Chiefs, but everybody knows the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce turned into Superman like he always does in the playoffs. But for me, the opening drive for Houston, they get the ball, they drive straight down into scoring territory. They have a 3rd and 10 at Kansas City's 14. CJ Stroud decides he wants to scramble and stay in bounds to gain 2 yards on 3rd and 10. This is 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3 where you're diving for an extra yard. That's fine. And that is the play where his ankle got messed up the first time or his knee, and then he was just kind of hobbled the whole game. He could have run out of bounds a yard or two earlier and not taken that hit, and it wouldn't have mattered because it was the difference between a 30-yard field goal and a 32-yard field goal. So, you're a quarterback. It's the playoffs. Don't take that hit on that play. I get it. If you're going for the first down and you're right there and you want to win, you need to get that. That's one thing. Going for a 2nd yard on 3rd and 10 makes 0 sense. So you can't be hobbled when you're rushing, when George Karlaftis is trying to kill you. And then the other bad decision that I thought the Chiefs made was before the game, you're getting all these videos of the win and what the kickers are doing before in pregame and how they're looking. Kind of we talk about, this is what Jay Feely would have been on the scene updating us with this. And it was pretty clear that no one was going to make a field goal beyond 50 yards. I even tweeted out before the game, I would be shocked if anyone tried a 50-plus yard field goal because they don't seem makeable right now. So what do the Texans do? They send Kaimi Fairbairn out to attempt a 55-yarder.
55.
So 55 yards. And we all saw the kick. It missed. He almost kicked it out of the stadium to the right. He almost missed it by 55 yards. That play was 4th and 8 from the Chiefs' 37. I am Mr. Pro field goal. I always take the points because I love field goals usually. But in this situation, I think you either go for it or punt because it was 6-3 at that point. You go for it, whatever. It's 4th and 8. You don't get it. They get it at their own 37. You punt. Maybe you pin them inside the 5. You go in the halftime down 6-3. That's a moral victory. That's great. Instead, missed field goal. Chiefs take over at the 45 because you get it from where the holder spotted. Drive down 55 yards for a touchdown, 13-3 at halftime, game over. Or 13-6, I think the Texans got a field goal. But at that point, after the Chiefs got the touchdown, it really felt like game over.
Yeah, I think if the Commanders have shown us anything this year, it's that the 4th down decision sort of debate is dead. It's like if you're not able to have plans for 4th downs like that and leaving yourself either terrible field goal attempts or punting for short yardage, it's like you need to have better plans on 4th downs. There's such high leverage plays, and that making those, going in as underdogs, you need a few of those a game to come out as winners. And the Houston Texans, obviously, I think botched that whole situation. So they really only have themselves to blame for that one. I'll also say this because I'm the draft guy and I always look at draft conversations. But the Texans took Blake Fisher, the right tackle who ended up having to start in that game, rookie right tackle. They took him 3 picks ahead of Roger Rosengarten. Blake Fisher allowed 7 pressures in that game. He allowed most of the sacks to George Karlaftis that he had 2 of them. And Roger Rosengarten only allowed 2 pressures. Roger Rosengarten played about twice as many snaps this year as Blake Fisher, and they had almost identical pressures for the season. I think they're going to look back at that one and maybe want to redo, because that one, if you had Roger Rosengarten, who held Von Miller to only 2 pressures tonight, instead of Blake Fisher, I think that's a vastly different game. I think that game ends differently for the Houston Texans, unfortunately.
But also, CJ Stroud, again, if he was a little bit more mobile, maybe one or 2 of those sacks don't happen, and he only gets sacked 5 times or 6 times. It all adds up.